This is the Buffett Mindset channel where we practice patience and calm wealth building daily. If you enjoy these types of videos, consider liking and subscribing. This will mean a lot to the channel. When you finally choose yourself, something almost mystical happens. The world that once felt distant begins to orbit closer. You stop chasing opportunities and they start circling you, drawn not by your words but by your conviction. The people who used to overlook you begin to notice the shift, though they can't explain it. Your energy changes first, then your reality follows. You no longer ask, will they like me, or will this work out? Instead, your mind speaks a new language. This is mine. This will be done. I am already becoming. Because choosing yourself is not the act of arrogance, it's the ultimate act of alignment. At the moment you stop outsourcing your destiny and take it back piece by piece, breath by breath, until every fragment of hesitation burns away in the fire of your decision, you will begin to see that the world was never against you. It was simply mirroring your uncertainty. Every closed door, every ignored call, every missed chance wasn't rejection, it was reflection. The universe responds to conviction the way metal responds to a magnet. It cannot resist. But for years you've approached life timidly, asking for proof before commitment, validation before belief. You've begged the mirror to smile before daring to grin. And so, life withheld its blessings, waiting for the only key that could unlock them: your decision. Once you decide that you are enough, that you are capable, that you are ready now, everything rearranges itself to meet that truth. But understand this, choosing yourself will cost you. It'll cost you your excuses. It'll cost you the comfort of victimhood. It will cost you the safety of blaming others. When you choose yourself, there's no one left to blame, no one left to wait on, no one left to hide behind. You become both the architect and the builder, the captain and the crew. And that weight is heavy, but it's holy, because it's the only weight that builds strength instead of suffering. You'll lose people, yes, but you'll also lose hesitation. You'll lose approval, but you'll gain authority. You'll lose ease, but you'll gain purpose. Choosing yourself doesn't simplify your life, it magnifies it. Brings everything that's been hiding in the shadows into the open, demanding that you rise and face it, and pleading the truth they won't tell you. No one would clap when you first make that choice. The world doesn't celebrate self-crowned kings. It mocks them, doubts them, tests them. People will question your sudden boundaries, your silence, your new discipline. They'll say you've changed, and you'll smile, because you finally have. You've stopped begging for seats at tables built for smaller men. You've started building your own, brick by brick from the fire that once burned you. That is the transformation no applause can measure. That is what separates the chosen from the self-chosen. The former waits for opportunity, the latter creates it. Choosing yourself also means forgiving yourself for every year you stayed small, for every time you said maybe next time, for every dream you buried under fear of failure. You'll realize that you weren't lazy, unafraid. You weren't unmotivated, that uncertain. You were waiting for someone to give you what only you could grant permission. But now that you've given it, there's no going back. You'll walk differently. You'll speak with weight. You'll no longer fill the silence with justification, because when a man truly chooses himself, his energy says what his words no longer need to. He moves through the world with quiet authority, not demanding space, but defining it. And when this new self takes root, you'll begin to feel an unfamiliar peace. You'll notice you're no longer addicted to validation, no longer refreshing screens for approval, no longer measuring your worth by applause. You'll realize that external praise was never fuel, it was anesthesia. It numbed the ache of your own inaction. But now, you've chosen action. Now you move even when unseen. You build even when unpraised. You persist even when misunderstood, because you finally understand that belief is not something the world gives you, it's something you generate in silence. This choice will also awaken a strange loneliness, not the empty kind, but the sacred kind. The kind every builder feels before the foundation is finished. You'll spend nights in solitude listening to the hum of your own conviction. You'll wrestle with the ghosts of old habits whispering, "Come back, it's easier here." But you won't. Now you've tasted ownership, and once a man tastes ownership, dependency becomes poison. You'll start craving alignment more than attention, progress more than comfort, solitude more than company that stunts you. And though it may look like isolation, it actually incubation. Greatness grows in silence long before it's seen in public. You'll begin to operate by a new law, that waiting is not patience when it's hiding in fear. You'll stop mistaking delay for destiny. You'll understand that timing isn't something you wait for. It's something you create by readiness. Every day you act from that readiness, the universe adjusts its gears to match your momentum. People will call it luck. You'll know it obedience, not to chance, but to choice. One morning, without realizing it, you'll wake up and realize something subtle has shifted. You'll feel taller, not because your body changed, but because your spirit stopped bowing. You'll walk past the same people who once made you doubt yourself, and instead of resentment, you'll feel gratitude. They were mirrors too. Every critic, every skeptic, every person who overlooked you taught you one priceless truth. No one can choose you until you've chosen yourself first. And when you finally embody that truth, the world becomes pliable. Not because it changed, but because you have. You'll stop chasing doors and start build walls strong enough to hang your own. You'll stop begging for opportunities and start commanding them. You'll stop asking, what if I fail? And start asking, what if I never try? Because choosing yourself removes the illusion of safety. It shows you that the only real danger was staying small. So if you're still waiting, let this be the final time. Let this moment be the coronation, not with crowns or ceremony, but with commitment. Decide now that your future will no longer wait for permission slips signed by fear. Write it across your mind in unshakable ink. I am the one I've been waiting for. Because from that moment, life stops testing your worth and starts matching your will. You stop being a dreamer and you become a decision. And the world always does will bend to the man who finally decides to belong to himself. When you finally choose yourself, you stop chasing what was never meant for you. You stop knocking on doors that were never built for your hands. You stop auditioning for roles in lives that were never written for you. Because you realize that the energy you spent trying to fit in was the very energy you were supposed to rise. The moment you stop begging for belonging and start building from within, your reality begins to shift. You'll notice how opportunities that once seemed unreachable now start orbiting near your awareness. Not because the world suddenly changed, but because your vibration did. When a man finally chooses himself, his frequency rises, and the higher the frequency, the fewer the chains that can hold him. You become unreachable to fear, untouchable by small-minded doubt, and immune to the criticism that once crippled you. At first, the world won't understand. They'll mistake your silence for arrogance, your focus for coldness, your distance for detachment. But what they're really seeing is your boundaries being born. You'll start saying no not to people, but to the weaker version of yourself that said yes to everything. You'll stop being accessible to chaos. You'll stop rescuing those who drown in problems they refuse to swim out of. You'll stop attending every emotional fire that doesn't belong to you. Because you'll finally realize that not everyone deserves your time, only those who respect your purpose. Choosing yourself means you finally stop trading your peace for proximity. It's not isolation, it's alignment. It's walking away not because you don't care, but because you finally do, out your energy, your mission, and your mind. You'll begin to notice how your world simplifies when you no longer negotiate your worth. You'll stop trying to explain your vision to people who lack imagination. You'll stop over-explaining your decisions just to be understood. Understanding was never the goal, expression was. You'll realize that you don't need everyone to see your light, you need to keep it burning. You'll become less reactive, more intentional. You'll start recognizing that everything you allow teaches others how to treat you. And so, you'll allow less. You'll choose silence where you once argued. You'll choose solitude where you once sought validation. You'll choose discipline where you once begged for luck. And life will begin to move differently, smoother, sharper, more responsive. The air around you will feel cleaner, lighter. You'll feel like you've shed invisible weights, that the energy of self-ownership, when you stop living under the gravity of other people's expectations. The burden of needing to please everyone dissolves, and in its place, their focus, real, clear focus. You'll start to notice beauty and simplicity again, the quiet morning before the world wakes, the rhythm of your own breathing, the way your mind feels uncluttered when you're not trying to impress. That the beginning of mastery, when peace becomes your default, not your escape. And when peace becomes your default, productivity becomes natural. You'll no longer need to force progress because you've removed the friction that was slowing you down, doubt, guilt, distraction. But with that freedom comes responsibility to never go back. Once you've tasted the strength that comes from choosing yourself, you can't pretend you don't know better. The world will try to lure you back into comfort. Old habits will whisper your name. Old people test your growth, trying to see if you still fit the version they remember. And in those moments, you'll have to choose it, not once, but daily. Because choosing yourself isn't a one-time act, a ritual. It's waking up every morning and reaffirming that your mission outweighs your mood, that your purpose matters more than your popularity. It reminding yourself that your destiny is too important to be delayed by distraction. When you live this way, you'll notice the landscape of your life transforming. You'll outgrow entire seasons without warning. Things that once excited you, you start to feel shallow. Conversations that used to drain you, you fade out of your orbit. It'll confuse people, how you can love them and still leave. But love without growth is slow death. You'll learn that letting go is not betrayal, it's preservation. And in those moments of release, you'll also realize something profound. You were never actually losing anything. You were simply making room. Room for alignment. Room for people who understand without translation. Room for opportunities that don't require compromise. As soon, the results of this inner revolution will start to manifest outwardly. Your work will gain depth. Your words would carry weight. Your actions will ebb louder than your explanations it could. People will begin to ask how you changed, what you did differently, and you'll smile because you'll know you didn't add anything. You subtracted everything that wasn't you. You stopped performing and started embodying. You stopped asking what, started to say, watch of the Putzies, that the secret every great builder learned success isn't about becoming more. It's about becoming precise. The world rewards clarity, not confusion. The irony is that once you choose yourself, you finally become capable of serving others, but this time you do it from overflow, not obligation. You'll give without depletion. You'll lead without ego. You'll speak truth without fear of rejection. Because you no longer serve from the need to be seen. You serve because it's who you are. Your strength will no longer be loud, it'll be calm. The calm of a man who knows he doesn't need to chase what already his. The calm of someone who's been through the fire and realized the flames never burned him, they refined him. You'll wake up one morning and notice that life feels different. You'll no longer rush to check your phone, no longer measure your worth by the noise of the world. Instead, you'll rise slowly, grounded, intentional. You'll sit with your thoughts before the world interrupts them. You'll write, reflect, breathe, and move with the rhythm of purpose. And you'll realize that success was never about achievement. It was about authority. Authority over yourself, authority over your thoughts, your reactions, your boundaries, and your focus. That when life bends in your favor, when you finally stop begging for permission to exist and start living like you were meant to. Because when a man chooses himself, truly chooses himself, he doesn't just change his world, he becomes the change itself. The light in his eyes, sharp pen. The tone in his voice, deep pen. The way he walks through life commands respect without asking for it. Not because he's above anyone, but because he finally aligned with who he was meant to be. That alignment radiates. It draws others upward without kind. It makes the weak question their excuses. It makes the lost remember their fire. That the ripple effect of self-choice. One man decides, and the world around him starts to awaken. So if you're listening now, waiting for a sign, this is it. This is the line in the sand. The world doesn't owe you recognition, but your soul owes you obedience. Stop waiting for proof that you're ready. You're ready because you're heat. You're ready because the thought of staying the same makes you sick. You're ready because your higher self is tired of watching you hesitate. So choose. Choose to walk forward without applause. Choose to create before you're certain. Choose to crown yourself with action. Because the moment you do, the universe will bow in response, not to your wishes, but to your will. When you truly choose yourself, the world around you begins to rearrange in ways that defy logic. Paths you once couldn't see suddenly unfold with precision. Conversations that used to confuse you become clear. Decisions that felt impossible now flow like instinct. That Da's self-trust is the highest intelligence. It sharpens your perception beyond fear, beyond noise, beyond validation. You begin to move not by chance, but by rhythm. Every step you take, every word you speak carries alignment. And in that alignment, life itself starts working with you instead of against you. You'll notice it in small ways first. A new opportunity appears right when you release an old burden. A person enters your life the moment you decide to stop chasing the wrong ones. Clarity arrives right after you stop asking for permission to see. It's not coincidence, it's consequence. When you choose yourself, the universe finally has permission to choose you back. But before that alignment becomes your new reality, there's a storm you must face, the backlash of your old identity. The version of you that lived for others will fight to survive. It will whisper doubts, tempt you with nostalgia, and disguise fear with logic. It'll remind you of who you used to be, the people pleaser, the apologizer, the one who played small just to keep the peace. And for a moment, you'll feel the pull to go back, to shrink, to explain yourself one last time. But you can't. You've outgrown the mask, and if you try to wear it again, it'll suffocate you. Choosing yourself means burying that old self, not with shame, but with gratitude. Thank it for getting you then release it, because no man can walk into his future while still dragging the corpse of who he used to be. This transition will feel lonely at first. There will be nights when the silence feels heavier than the noise Ed did. You'll question whether you made the right choice. You'll wonder if distance means you're wrong, if solitude means you're slipping. But hear me clearly. Silence is not punishment, it's purification. It's the detox your soul goes through when it finally stops consuming the poison of other people's expectations. You'll start hearing your own voice again, faint at first, then steady, then strong. It will sound unfamiliar because it's been drowned out for years by the chatter of the crowd. But once you recognize it, once you vote it, everything changes, because that voice is the compass that can never betray you. And soon enough, your environment will begin to respond. You'll meet you people not by luck, but by frequency. They'll speak the same language of purpose and power. They won't need to be convinced of your vision, because they'll have one of their own. Because no man can walk into his future while still dragging the corpse of who he used to be. This transition will feel lonely at first. There will be nights when the silence feels heavier than the noise Ed did. You'll question whether you made the right choice. You'll wonder if distance means you're wrong, if solitude means you're slipping. But hear me clearly. Silence is not punishment, it's purification. It's the detox your soul goes through when it finally stops consuming the poison of other people's expectations. You'll start hearing your own voice again, faint at first, then steady, then strong. It will sound unfamiliar because it's been drowned out for years by the chatter of the crowd. But once you recognize it, once you vote it, everything changes, because that voice is the compass that can never betray you. And soon enough, your environment will begin to respond. You'll meet you people not by luck, but by frequency. They'll speak the same language of purpose and power. They won't need to be convinced of your vision, because they'll have one of their own. These are the allies life was saving for you. The ones who were invisible while you were still doubted yourself. You'll start build with them, exchanging not gossip but ideas, not complaints but plans. And with each conversation, your new identity strengthens. You'll realize that your old circle wasn't bad. They were a reflection of your old belief system. And belief is the soil from which your relationships grow. Change the soil, and the forest changes too. You'll also notice that your standards in work, in love, in life begin to rise naturally. You'll stop entertaining half effort from others because you've stopped giving it yourself. You'll stop chasing what inconsistent because you've become consistent. You'll stop forcing what feels heavy because you finally learned to trust ease. And this isn't laziness, it's alignment. True power doesn't strain, it flows. It creates, it attracts, it expands, quietly, deliberately, continuously. The struggle was never proof of your worth, it was proof of your resistance. The moment you stop fighting for validation and start standing in conviction, everything begins to accelerate. Not because you're doing more, but because you've stopped scattering your energy. Then comes the phase most won't talk about, the return. After the silence, after the rebuilding, you'll step back into the world. But this time, you'll carry a different kind of weight. Not burden, presence. The same situations that once overwhelmed you will now bend easily to your will. The same words that once wounded you will sound small. The same fears that once froze you will now fuel you. Because once a man learns to command himself, no force outside him can dictate his mission. You'll find yourself calm in storms, grounded in chaos, steady in transition. You'll speak less, but when you do, people will listen, not because you demand respect, because you embody it. And that's when you'll understand what freedom truly means. It's not about doing whatever you want. It's about no longer needing to betray yourself to survive. You'll stop saying yes out of guilt. You'll stop apologizing for your drive. You'll stop lowering your tone so others can feel taller. Freedom is the ability to walk away from conversations that shrink you, from rooms that misread you, from opportunities that compromise your truth. You'll move through life with the quiet confidence of someone who doesn't need the world approval because he already gave it to himself. That the paradox of self-choice, once you stop chasing external validation, the world begins to mirror your internal certainty. But let me warn you, self-ownership will test your endurance. It did demand consistency in the dark. It will ask you to keep believing when no one is watching, to keep build when results seem distant, to keep rode up even when it feels like no one cares. That the price of sovereignty, daily devotion to your vision, even when the applause has faded. Ted, the secret the successful never admit. In those quiet, unglamorous hours that true transformation happens. When you keep your word to yourself, when you do the work no one celebrates, when you show up not 'cause it's easy, but 'cause it's you. And one morning, you'll wake up and realize something extraordinary. You're no longer chasing a version of yourself. You've become him. The fire that once burned in ambition now burns as peace. You'll walk through the same streets, face the same challenges, and yet everything feels lighter, sharper, richer, because nothing outside you changed, only your decision did. The world didn't shift, you did, and in that shift lies the secret of every legend who had lived. They didn't wait to be chosen, they didn't ask for permission, they didn't beg for belief. They looked in the mirror, met their reflection with certainty, and declared, "I choose thee." Again and again. That is the mantra that rewrites destinies. That is the law that bends worlds. And that, my friend, is how the chosen are made, not by fate, but by fire, not by privilege, but by choice, because the man who finally chooses himself doesn't just change his story, he changes what's possible for everyone watching. And after that moment of full acceptance, when you choose yourself, not as a phrase, but a permanent identity, the world begins to react in ways that feel both surreal and inevitable. You'll see it in the eyes of others first. Every choice you make, the leaps in respect comes entirely in here. What they are then this commitment, they don't understand that that's not right, because when you decide to live on your own terms, it confronts every person still waiting for permission to live on theirs. You become a mirror that exposes comfort and compromise. That mirror will make the unready recoil, but you must not dim yourself to keep them comfortable. Their discomfort is not your burden, it is their invitation. They can either rise or retreat, but your job is to keep walking. That the law of self-selection, the moment you elevate, your circle divides, the committed climb with you, the complacent fall away. Every decision you make from this moment forward will feel heavier, because it could carry the full weight of your ownership. There will be no one left to blame, no more external villains to cast in your story. It is their invitation. They can either rise or retreat, but your job is to keep walking. That the law of self-selection, the moment you elevate, your circle divides, the committed climb with you, the complacent fall away. Every decision you make from this moment forward will feel heavier, but to carry the full weight of your ownership. There will be no one left to blame, no more external villains to cast in your story. You will realize that the only enemy that fate existed was hesitation itself. That hesitation disguised itself as logic, patience, as humility. It told you to wait, to be careful, to seek permission. But that voice was never wisdom. It was fear wearing a mask of reason. When you finally recognize it, you'll also realize how much of your life was spent negotiating with it. All the times you talked yourself out of boldness, all the ideas you buried under what if, all the dreams you postponed but someone else couldn't see them. That is the real cost of hesitation, the slow suffocation of your own potential. But once you see it for what it is, you'll destroy it. You'll stop asking, what if it doesn't work? And start asking, what if it does? That sig reversal of thought would ignite a revolution in you. Your creativity will sharpen, your courage will amplify, and the weight of uncertainty will turn into momentum. You'll begin to act faster, speak clearer, decide quicker, not recklessly, but with instinct refined by alignment. That what happens when you're no longer split between who you are and who you pretend to be. Decisions that once looked months don't take minutes, not because the risk is gone, but because the self-doubt is. You'll start trusting your own pulse more than the opinions of others, and that trust built through consistency, tested through silence, will become the foundation of your empire. Because empires are not built by committees, they are built by individuals who were willing to stand alone until the world caught up. You'll notice a quiet power developing within you, one that no title, no paycheck, no applause can give. It's the authority of a man who is at peace with his own reflection. You'll stop running from mirrors, both literal and metaphorical, because you'll finally recognize the face staring back at you. That face won't be perfect, but it be honest. It will show the scars of battle, the wrinkles of patience, the calm of someone who has stopped trying to be everything for everyone. And that calm will terrify those who thrive on chaos. You'll start to see how much of the world feeds on confusion, how entire systems are designed to keep you doubting your own capability. The economy of insecurity is the most profitable business on earth. But once you opt out, once you stop buying the idea that you need to be fixed, the machine loses its power over you. You'll begin living from abundance, not lack, from decision, not delay. And you walk further into this mindset, you'll begin to understand something sacred, that choosing yourself was never about ego, it was about stewardship. You were never meant to own the world, you were meant to govern yourself. Everything outside of you, wealth, success, recognition, are extensions of that inner governance. The stronger your command over your thoughts, the clearer your direction over your life. That's why the truly powerful never chase, they attract, because their energy is consistent, their conviction unshaken. They understand that motion without ren is noise, but focus without apology is magnetism. You'll feel this too. You'll notice how people start coming to you, not because you asked, but because you became someone worth seeking. You'll become the center of calm in other people's chaos, the signal in a world of static. But this level of strength will demand constant renewal. Choosing yourself once is courage. Choosing yourself every day is discipline. You'll have to reaffirm that choice in moments of fatigue, when the temptation to shrink reappears in softer forms. It won't always sound at fear anymore. Sometimes it sounds at reason, comfort, even kindness. The voice will say, "You've done enough for today," when your work is not yet done. It'll whisper, "Take it easy," when your fire is still burning. That when you'll know the battle isn't external anymore, it's internal. You've already defeated the opinions of others. Now you must defeat the comfort of your own excuses. There will come a night, a quiet one, maybe after a long day of progress, when you'll sit alone in the dark and feel something profound. Peace. Not the kind of peace that comes from everything going right, but the kind that comes from knowing you can handle it when everything goes wrong. You'll realize you've built a life uncertainty no longer paralyzes you, where failure no longer defines you. You'll see that every fall was never punishment, it was preparation. Every closed door was never rejection, it was redirection. And every delay was never denial, it was discipline in disguise. The lessons you once cursed will now read as sacred instructions, handwritten by time itself to shape the man you were meant to be. And when dawn comes after that night, you'll walk differently, not with swagger, but with serenity. The world won't look different, but it feel different. But you are different. You'll carry yourself like a man who knows he's no longer waiting for his moment. He is his moment. Every word you speak will carry conviction. Every step you take, you leave imprint. You'll stop asking if the world is ready for you and start preparing the world for your arrival. Because you'll understand now that no one is ever truly chosen. The chosen are simply those who decided to stop waiting. You'll move forward knowing that the greatest victory was never over circumstance, but over self-doubt. You'll smile quietly when others say you've changed because they're right, but not in the way they think. You didn't become someone new, you finally stopped betraying who you were always meant to be. The lessons you once cursed will now read as sacred instructions, handwritten by time itself to shape the man you were meant to be. And when dawn comes after that night, you'll walk differently, not with swagger, but with serenity. The world won't look different, but it feel different, but you are different. You'll carry yourself like a man who knows he's no longer waiting for his moment. He is his moment. Every word you speak will carry conviction. Every step you take, you leave imprint. You'll stop asking if the world is ready for you and start preparing the world for your arrival, because you'll understand now that no one is ever truly chosen. The chosen are simply those who decided to stop waiting. You'll move forward knowing that the greatest victory was never over circumstance, but over self-doubt. You'll smile quietly when others say you've chased because they're right, but not in the way they think. You didn't become someone new, you finally stopped betraying who you were always meant to be. And from that moment onward, every breath you take carries the weight and freedom of that realization that the world outside you was never holding you back, was only reflecting the world inside you. You begin to see life not something happening to you, but something responding through you. You stop asking for luck and start creating alignment. You stop chasing success and start magnetizing it through identity. Because now you understand that wealth, purpose, peace, they don't chase the man who begs for them. They come to the man who becomes a match for them. You have spent years trying to pull reality toward you, trying to bend it through effort and strain. But when you choose yourself fully, reality bends for you. The noise settles, the resistance weak, the timing synchronizes. And what once felt like luck now feels like law. You'll walk differently through your days, not because everything is perfect, but because everything is purposeful. The traffic jam doesn't bother you, the delay doesn't derail you, the failure doesn't define you. You begin to see design in every detour. That when you start operating from faith instead of frustration, faith not in some distant reward, but in your own alignment with the process. You realize the truth that every master eventually discovers. The path was not hidden from you. You were hidden from the path. It appeared the moment you stopped pretending. That the paradox of life clarity, cause not when you add more, but when you remove everything that isn't real. And when you finally live that way, the world stops feeling random. It starts feeling responsive. Every day, every meeting, every silence carries meaning. You will start noticing your old triggers losing their grip. The opinions of others, once sharp knives, now pass through you like air. Criticism becomes feedback, rejection becomes redirection. Loss becomes information. You no longer take things personally, but you no longer take them permanently. Everything becomes temporary. The wins, the losses, the applause, the silence, and but your peace begins. You realize that true control isn't about forcing outcomes. It's about mastering your internal weather. You stop waiting for the storm to end. Learn to stand still in the rain, unbothered, unbroken, unmoved. That what men like Buffett, Ford, and Carnegie all discovered, that the calm mind creates what the chaotic mind chases. The calm mind builds while the restless mind burns energy. The calm mind leads, and with that calm comes a quiet strength. Not loud, not boastful, but undeniable. You'll start to notice how people begin treating you differently, not because you demanded respect, but because you finally gave it to yourself. They'll sense something unspoken, the authority that comes from a man who no longer negotiates with weakness. When you speak, they'll listen. When you move, they'll follow. When you build, they'll believe. Not because you convinced them, but because you became convincing. Influence is not a trick, it's a frequency. It cannot be faked or borrowed. It must be earned through internal congruence. When your thoughts, words, and actions align, you create a vibration that cannot be ignored. That's why the world bends toward men of certainty. They don't push harder, they resonate stronger. What men like Buffett, Ford, and Carnegie all discovered, that the calm mind creates what the chaotic mind chases. The calm mind builds while the restless mind burns energy. The calm mind leads, and with that calm comes a quiet strength. Not loud, not boastful, but undeniable. You'll start to notice how people begin treating you differently, not because you demanded respect, but because you finally gave it to yourself. They'll sense something unspoken, the authority that comes from a man who no longer negotiates with weakness. When you speak, they'll listen. When you move, they'll follow. When you build, they'll believe. Not because you convinced them, but because you became convincing. Influence is not a trick, it's a frequency. It cannot be faked or borrowed. It must be earned through internal congruence. When your thoughts, words, and actions align, you create a vibration that cannot be ignored. That's why the world bends toward men of certainty. They don't push harder, they resonate stronger. But understand this, choosing yourself doesn't mean the absence of doubt. It means the mastery of it. You'll still hear that voice sometimes, the one that whispers, what if it doesn't work? Or what if I fail again? But instead of obeying it, you'll smile. You'll recognize it as the ghost of your former self, a remnant of fear that no longer controls your choices. You'll say quietly, thank you for trying to protect me, and then move forward anyway. Because now you understand courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the refusal to surrender to hum. Every time you act in spite of fear, you weaken its hold. Every time you take a step without certainty, you build strength. And with each repetition, confidence becomes your default language. There will come a day when you look back and realize the man you once pitied, the version of you who doubted, delayed, and diminished himself, was not a failure. It was the foundation. Every delay, every false start, every night of confusion was necessary to forge this version of you. The pain was tuition, the waiting was training, the loss was calibration. Going in the low back, you realize the man you once pitied, the version of you who doubted, delayed, and diminished himself, was not a failure. It was the foundation. Every delay, every false start, every night of confusion was necessary to forge this version of you. The pain was tuition, the waiting was training, the loss was calibration. You were never stuck, you were being shaped. The universe was never silent, it was waiting for you to listen. And now that you do, you move through life differently, not chasing, not proving, not explaining, becoming. You understand that your evolution is your revenge. You no longer fight your past, you thank it, because without it, you would have never found this clarity. And now, when you rise in the morning, something sacred happens. You no longer dread the day. You no longer wake up to obligation. You wake up to creation. You see the sunrise, not their repetition, but their renewal, another chance to build, to sharpen, to align. You'll have rituals now, not habits, but disciplines with meaning. Maybe it's journaling, maybe it's silence, maybe it's reflection. But everything you do will stem from intention. You won't live by accident anymore. Your time, once wasted on endless distractions, will now feel precious. You'll guard it like treasure, but you finally understand how you spend your minutes is how you shape your destiny. And nothing steals more potential than distraction disguised duty. You'll start saying no more, not from ego, but from clarity. Because every no becomes a yes to something greater. You'll stop explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. You'll stop chasing closure from conversations that ended long gone. You'll stop revisiting battles you've already won. This doesn't make you cold, it makes you clear. You're no longer proving your worth, you're preserving your energy. And that shift changes everything. The world starts to see you rare because you are. Not because of talent, not because of resources, but because of focus. In a world addicted to noise, you have become silence. That silence, that focus, that unshaken calm, it radiates power. It moves mountains, it bends circumstances, it rewires destiny. Because the truth is simple but brutal. The man who owns his attention owns his life. And once you choose yourself, that's exactly what you own, all of it. The highs, the lows, the lessons, the legacy. You become both the sculptor and the stone, carving yourself with precision each day. And in the end, when people ask how you did it, how you turned confusion into clarity, fear into strength, doubt into dominance, you'll simply say, I stopped waiting to be chosen. I chose myself. And when you say it, they'll feel it. Because it won't just be words. It'll be presence. It'll be truth. It'll be power earned in silence and expressed through mastery. And when that power finally settles into your bones, you'll begin to realize something deeper. Choosing yourself was not a one-time act of defiance. It was the beginning of a covenant, a lifelong agreement between who you are and who you're becoming. Every morning you rise, you renew that vow. Every challenge that tests you is not punishment but proof. A reminder that you were never meant to live a soft life, you were meant to live a directed one. You start to see the difference between motion and meaning. The old version of you was constantly busy, running everywhere but arriving nowhere. The new you moves with precision. Every action is deliberate, every word has weight, every choice pulls you closer to the man you said you would become. You no longer need chaos to feel alive because you've replaced adrenaline with awareness. You've learned that clarity, though quieter, is far more powerful than noise. This is the stage of life Fey. Discipline turns sacred. You no longer see it as sacrifice, you see it devotion. You wake up early not to impress anyone, but silence has become your sanctuary. You stay consistent not because you're chasing perfection, because mastery now feels like peace. The very things that once felt like a burden, the repetition, the patience, the solitude, are now the foundation of your strength. You'll look back and realize that while others were looking for shortcuts, you were sharpening your blade in the dark. That edge, that calm, deliberate sharpness will make you unstoppable. You no longer rush to prove, you build to last. You no longer chase trends, you build principles. You no longer measure progress by applause, you merit by alignment. There will come a time when your old life calls again, not with malice, but with memory. The comfort, the distractions, the patterns, they'll whisper, remember how easy it was. And for a moment, you'll feel the tug of nostalgia, that subtle pull towards simplicity. But you'll smile, not with arrogance, but with unvarying, because you'll remember that ease was not peace, it was avoidance. You'll realize that simplicity without direction was just stagnation, dressed up peace, stability. The old version of you survived, the new one lead. Leadership, real leadership, is lonely at first. You'll learn that isolation is not the absence of people, it's the presence of clarity. You'll spend less time explaining and more time executing. You'll find joy in the quiet grind, in the rhythm of creation, in the discipline that no one sees, that when you'll know you've entered a different league, not of wealth, not of status, but of awareness. And once you reach that level, the world will test your balance. Because with new strength comes new temptation, ego, pride, complacency. You'll start to receive praise, recognition, success. And if you're not careful, you'll start mistaking attention for alignment again. But you've come too far for that. You'll remember that validation is a drug, and even a sip can dull your clarity. You'll remind yourself that true fulfillment comes not from being admired, but from being consistent with your truth. You'll keep your head down when others start to lift theirs too high. You'll move in humility because you understand that quiet power is the most unshaken kind. The lion doesn't roar when it hunts, it moves in silence with precision, knowing its presence alone commands respect. It rhymed this time that people will start coming to you seeking advice, and mentorship. They'll ask you how you did it, expecting a secret formula or a quick trick. But what you'll tell them will disappoint the impatient and awaken the willing. I simply stopped breaking my word to myself. That's the real magic. Every promise kept was a brick. Every temptation resisted was mortar. Every lonely night was a foundation stone. You didn't climb a ladder, you built one step by step with your own hands. That's why no one can take it from you. That's why no storm can collapse it. The man who builds himself from principle cannot be dismantled by circumstance. And soon you'll realize that choosing yourself was never selfish. It was service. Because when you live from alignment, you become an anchor for others. Your consistency gives others permission to be strong. Your discipline inspires order in those who are lost. Your clarity becomes contagious. You'll find that people don't just listen to what you say, they feel what you embody. They'll start to raise their standards just by being around you. And when you understand the quiet truth, leadership is not about leading people, it's about mastering yourself so thoroughly that others naturally follow. You become a living example of what's possible when a man chooses himself completely and refuses to turn back. Eventually, there will come a day, maybe decades from now, when you'll look around at the life you built. It won't be perfect, but it'll be yours. You'll sit in silence, maybe under a sky that once saw your struggle, and you'll feel something most men never experience: pride without ego, peace without stagnation. You'll realize that you didn't win, but you never failed. You won because you never stopped. You'll understand that every setback was part of a symphony, every pain a necessary note in the music of your becoming. You'll feel gratitude for the storms that nearly broke you, because they revealed what could never be shaken. And you'll finally see the truth that was waiting all along. You were never lost, never late, never unworthy. You were simply being prepared to carry the weight of your own greatness. And in that moment, that quiet, unremarkable, world-stopping moment, you'll smile and whisper to yourself, not in triumph, but in peace: I chose myself, and that was enough. Because it always was.